spot still to be decided and looking like a straight fight between Stephen Hendry and Marco Fu. The Hong Kong-based player got off the mark with a win over an out-of-sorts Ken Doherty, the Irishman facing a whitewash at this year's tournament. The attention now turns to Group A and the match between Junhui and James Wattana. We join the action in the third frame with Junhui having taken a 2-0 lead. Commentary from Mark Johnson-Allen and Phil Yates.
Wattana are badly in need of something good. Where's the red?
1.
Well, that's a pretty outrageous fluke, although it's not going to gain ding all that much. But when you're already 2-0 down, that's the last thing you want to see happening.
I'm pretty sure that was not intended. In potting the pink, he's only put himself under pressure by sending the cue ball up to the bolt cushion, you see. And now the safety shot is one really that Wattana should have been playing.
Yes, we've used that word a lot, haven't we, so far, pressure.
7.
Well, young Ding is under pressure every time he comes to a snooker table for a competitive match, because even though he's tender in years, he's actually the family breadwinner.
Junhui 7.
The pressure for Wattana is of a completely different kind. He's trying to perform well in front of his fellow countrymen.
Sorry, Phil, so even though Ding's only 17 years of age, he literally supports the family.
Yes, he does. And if he were to win a mega amount of prize money over the next few years, his family would be rich, certainly by Chinese standards.
7.
It's the thing that drives him. I was saying there that Wattana always wants to do well on home soil. Sometimes, though, his failures have been spectacular. Yes, he's won a couple of Thailand Masters titles back-to-back in 1994 and 1995. One of the select band of players to have successfully defended a world ranking title. But when the Asian Games was held
14.
right here in Bangkok, he was an overwhelming favourite to win the gold medal. Beaten in the first round he was. Couldn't get out of the arena quickly enough. And he was actually pursued down the road by a pack of hungry pressmen. And Wattana, who's
19.
a genuinely nice guy, had a tear in the eye. He felt he'd let everyone down.
Doesn't like the red he's taken on into this right corner pocket. Purely because of the positional side of the shot. Knew he was chancing to luck.
20.
And as you can see, it hasn't worked out for him. So forced to play safe here. Needs to make sure that he leaves the table in control. And by that I mean that no obvious red for Ding. Try and force a good safety shot here.
Game Wattana 20.
That's all Wattana can do. Keep his discipline, remain patient, chip away, and trying to inch back into this match. Ding will not be becoming complacent. He knows it's possible to win a match from 2-0 down because he did in his last outing. 2-0 down against Mark Williams to boot. Came back to win 3-2. So he's well aware that Wattana is not out of this.
A lovely shot there. Black to centre pocket, one easy red over the left corner. There's a few straightforward points here for Wattana.
8. 9. Game
Well,
Wattana 9.
I say that, and he misses an obvious black. You miss a shot like that, you don't deserve to win a frame. So quite clearly he's going to need some help from Ding if he's to stay in this match. Should be going into the reds here. Well, how about this for a chance to take the frame of match?
Nine.
Didn't sound like the best of contacts, but that's perfectly okay.
16. 17. 24.
'Well, he's certainly underhit
Five.
that one. He's just about got position on the black to be able to take it on. But it should have been far easier. This is a missable shot. Massive let off for
Junhui
Wattana.
25.
Yes, the writing was on the wall there, wasn't it? But just slightly undercut the black. And that's a reprieve.
One.
And although we can't really explain why it is, Mark, time and again we've seen it where a player wastes a chance to win and then the balls just never forgive him afterwards.
A very good point, Phil.
8.
I don't know whether the person that makes the mistake contribute to that as well at the same time. You think to yourself, I've had my chance, I've wasted it. And all you do for the rest of that match is think negative thoughts. It's happened so many times. Saying that though, a very long way back for Wattana. Especially playing shots like that.
Game Wattana 8.
The one thing you can hope for when you're 2-0 down is a chance. And then it's up to you. And if you get that chance and you can't take it, you can't really ask for any more. You've only got yourself to blame.
Nicely struck. The cue ball ran just a little too far.
Game Wattana 1.
Don't know about you, Mark, but I just sense that young Ding is tightening up slightly. In the most important match of his career so far, in the second round of the Masters at Wembley back in February, he was 5-2 up against Stephen Lee. Couldn't seal the deal, lost 6-5. It's a really hackneyed cliche, I know, but that last frame really is the most difficult to win. Another opportunity to get over the line here.
He doesn't show emotion on the outside, but inside I think he's very annoyed with himself that he had a great opportunity earlier on in this frame. An opportunity where he should have knocked in 60 or 70 and the match should have been over by now. The strange thing is, the longer this carries on, the more chance that Wattana's got of finding at least some form.
Yes, a 2-0 Ding looked pretty unshakable. Now he's looking a wee bit shaky. Now will Wattana be tempted? He's a tremendous middle pocket potter. The choice of two. Gentleman there sitting behind Wattana holding the Thai flag. It's not flying proudly at the moment. But this teenager from China just can't quite get the job done. Astounding, isn't it?
Well, it's just like someone's come along and just turned the switch off, but there's nothing there.
1.
Well, there's plenty here for Wattana. No obvious obstacle to a clearance.
Eight. Nine.
The blue puts Wattana 20 in front, just consulting the scoreboard. So yellow
14.
and green needed. And Ding Junhui will be kicking himself.
$23.
The big question here at the BEC Terre Haute Stadium, is this the start of a full-scale Wattana recovery?
34.
He was on the brink of defeat, now he trails by just one frame.
Welcome back to the World Champions against the Asian Stars. We're in the round-robin stage, and this is the Group A clash between James Wattana and Ding Junhui. Wattana has had the best of the early exchanges in this fourth frame. Commentary from Mark Johnston-Allen and Phil Yates.
Handy lead this, but with those three reds so close together and another red in close proximity to the pink, you can't really describe it as a frame-winning opening.
Five.
But the more points that Wattana gets in front, the more Ding will be feeling the pressure. This really is role reversal.
Well,
In his first match, Ding should have been beaten 3-0 by Mark Williams. Williams didn't seize upon his chances in the third frame. And from 2-0 up, he was beaten 3-2.
Wattana 12.
Here, Ding should have won 3-0 for all intents and purposes, but he was the one missing chances. And that's why he'll be thankful Wattana didn't pop that.
You know, I've been in this situation many times, and it's a complete reverse of psychology. You've got one player who's leading, who's thinking all the negative thoughts, and the other player who's trailing, thinking all the positive things. Wattana really is thinking, well, I should have been out, I'm still in it, I've got a great chance of winning. Ding's thinking, I cannot believe I haven't won this match already. Wattana felt there was a gap there in between the yellow and the knuckle of the pocket to make the red, but well, now things are changing. Look at that for a touch of luck.
Not that I want to open up old wounds, Mark, but I'll open up old wounds. What was your worst collapse?
I was so strong mentally, Phil, that I can't remember. I erased all bad results from my memory bank. I honestly don't know, Phil. I know that I did probably lose matches from being 4-1 up. I don't think I ever lost from being 4-0 up.
One.
Unless you know better. It's just a situation where you miss a chance, and all of a sudden you see your opponent just gain momentum, and you think to yourself, yeah, it'd be terrible if I lose in this situation. And sure enough, what do you get? A defeat.
There's no worse feeling in snooker though than losing a match you know deep down you should have won. It's more hurtful to lose in a deciding frame than it is to be beaten out of sight to nil. And Wattana is a cagey campaigner. He'll try and keep his head above water in this battle. No real incentive to move all of the three reds there, but that's a pretty loose safety.
Things aren't looking good for him. Once again, that shot lacked commitment. He was up very quickly off the cue. You know when a player's not 100% because they don't finish the shot, and by that I mean watch the object ball all the way to the pocket. Wattana needs to cover the red over the left corner here.
Well, he tried a very ambitious plant there. That was impetuosity. You see, young Ding beginning his second season as a professional. Wattana starting out on his 16th. But that's a shot he won't look back on with any great pride.
1.
Woefully underhit.
I don't know about whether you agree with me, Phil. The second season, more often than not, is tougher than the first for a lot of the players.
Well, in America they call it the sophomore jinx. Obviously the freshman in college plays well in their teams. The second year, the sophomore doesn't play so well. In talking colleges, Wattana has got a degree in potting pinks to the ball pocket.
7.
A first-class honours degree after that one. 32 in front, 43 on.
Wattana 7.
Well, is Ding going to continue to attack here? Not particularly easy to play safe, so it may be worth going for this red. He did, and it was a long way out. Has he fluked it to this right corner? Well, an opportunity here for Wattana.
Well, another very scruffy frame.
One. Seven.
Doubles are always risky, and it looks as though
7.
it's cost Ding frame number 4. At least it should do.
One.
And even though they're beginning to decide it, 2 apiece, this man, for me, will be strong favourite. Ding has had a couple of decent chances to win this match.
Well, more than a couple, really. A hatful. Now he needs 2 snookers in frame 4 and 2 frames apiece. He's very much on the cards.
End frame.
Indeed, he concedes. We're going down to a decider.
Welcome back to Bangkok. This is Wattana against Ding, the 5th and final frame. Wattana ahead as we rejoin the match with commentary from Mark Johnston-Allen and Phil Yates.
Wattana 2. Everyone in this arena must have seemed dead and buried in the 3rd frame, and yet he's still battling away. Remember, 1 Thai player already guaranteed to be in the semi-finals. Atthasit Mahitthi. That's when his first 2 matches in Group B. And if Wattana were to pull this one out of the fire, there could be another Thai semi-finalist. And he can build on that lead here.
Oh, this will be a great boost for Wattana if he can hold his nerve and win this match. One thing he has lacked over the last couple of years is confidence. He certainly lost a number of matches that he should have won. And they do chip away at you. For him to come here, find himself 2-0 down and beat Ding, that would help him tremendously. But to do so, there's a lot of work to be done. He needs to keep everything nice and simple here.
Just looking back on last season, Wattana should really have beaten Mark Williams in the last 16 of the LG Cup, lost 5-3. Williams went on to capture the title.
Wattana 7.
You also had chances to beat Jimmy White in the European Open before losing 5-4. And at times he looked the better player before being beaten 10-7 by Matthew Stevens in the World Championship. It's all about self-belief.
1.
And if you haven't got a great deal, getting over the line in a snooker match can be a very difficult thing to do. What makes this interesting is that they both appear to be in the same boat. Both struggling. Mind you, that was a better pot.
7.
And that was just a very, very loose shot.
Junhui 7.
Well, and so is that. Both players are really struggling in this decider.
One.
It's quite strange because all you ever ask for in a deciding frame is one good opportunity. They've both had a couple already.
5.
I'm not at all surprised he missed that. He left himself
Junhui
far
5.
too much work to do with that shot. So another opportunity goes begging. Wattana a half chance here with this red to right corner. A good test of cueing. Long way out.
Yes, considering the circumstances, hard to imagine we're going to see any great fluency from now on in. You just get the feeling, though, this crowd at the BEC Tero Stadium not particularly bothered about the aesthetic quality of the snooker. They just want to see their man get over the line, or in this case, stumble over it.
Waters straight away came round the table, looked to see if the red to centre was available, but looks as though that one's covered. Forced to play safe here.
You have to question some of his shot selections. Easy for us, of course, to second guess after the event, but you don't pot many of those reds when you're cueing well, let alone when you're clearly not at your best or anywhere remotely approaching it.
Well, that was a far better shot than it looked. In terms of the match, could be a massive shot.
Seven. Egg. 14.
Every point that Wattana can accrue makes Ding's task all the more difficult.
And this is the most focused that Wattana has looked in the match so far. Well, I wouldn't do anything special here, just drop the pink in. He's got the red to right corner. And that would be a bonus if the red went to the centre pocket.
21.
With the rest quite clearly it doesn't, so he's still playing the one into the right corner pocket. It's a long way out.
Team Wattana, 21.
It was, wasn't it? But Wattana has built quite a useful lead. And Ding right now is just treading water.
One.
You won't see any form of heroics here. Just tickling the cue ball in behind the yellow. Yes, keeping that
Now
screw
1.
very tight. And that was very
Foul.
hasty, Mark. Just got down and hit the ball.
Team Wattana, 4.
It's something he's been doing over the last frame and a half, really, Phil. He's just been rushing everything. It appears as though, you know, there's no effort in any of the shots. Just getting down and hitting the ball. I don't know whether he's annoyed with himself. Annoyed maybe still with the fact that he hasn't won this match already, but he seems very frustrated.
Easy to forget, of course, he's only 17. He doesn't like it when things are going against him. I've mentioned before that Wattana is a dynamite middle pocket potter. Case in point there, very small target.
Seven.
Now close to the line, but doesn't want to take any unwarranted risks.
Team Wattana, 7.
That should dot the I's and cross the T. Ding had the match in the palm of his hand, but it slipped.
7.
That's insult to injury. Wattana flukes the red, Ding concedes. Wattana trailed 2-0, but he wins by 3 frames to 2.
That win for Wattana leaves Group A looking like this. James Wattana leads the group, but Ding Junhui and John Higgins could still move past Wattana for a place in the semis.
Williams also beat Higgins in the final of last season's LG Cup in Preston. even though Higgins shared the headlines by making a 147 break.
I think it's fair to say of all the world champions in this event, Williams has looked the most
16.
impressive so far in the early stages. Looks like he certainly kept in touch with the game throughout the summit. He's a very naturally talented player, however. And when you do take a break, that can be an advantage when you come back. I don't think he's ever been a player, I feel, that has worked quite as hard at his game as, say, someone like Steve Davis, Stephen Hendry. He takes a slightly more relaxed attitude to it, but it works for him.
Williams.
A bizarre way of bridging the cue ball there, resting his elbow on the table. The bridge hand was about a foot in the air.
At one stage, Williams held all of the game's 4 major titles. Simultaneously, the World Championship, the UK, the Masters, and the LG Cup. When he started last season, by winning the first world ranking event, we thought he was going to run away at the top of the standings. And really swell that trophy cabinet. But that didn't really work out. After that, his form went into decline, and towards the end of the season, he was visibly frustrated with his inability to play anywhere near his best. I think you'll find he's rededicated himself to the game, and in this coming season, we'll see Williams make a recovery.
The trouble is, Phil, you know, it's not as easy as it sounds, is it? He's had in the past, you mentioned, such high levels of consistency, but the standard each year improves. The competition in the lower and the earlier rounds gets tougher and tougher. Well, can you believe that shot?
Well, I can tell you that on the practice table before this match, if Williams was setting up an exercise to get his cue arm going, he'd place the balls about like they are now. There to be picked off, and I wouldn't be surprised if Higgins didn't get another shot in the frame.
He's absolutely spoilt for choice, isn't he? Needs to tidy up a couple of reds around the black spot just to bring the black into both corner pockets.
5.
But in a situation like this, as Phil mentioned, where you've practiced it thousands and thousands of times, you can almost map the break out. It's a pretty poor shot there.
F. Doherty. 15.
That tells us the black goes through the gap.
22.
Well, that makes things far easier. This will bring the black into play in the left corner pocket as well. And Williams going along very nicely in this opening frame.
23.
I think on form of the players I've seen so far, Williams looks a strong contender for this title.
He does, and yet, perversely, if he were to lose this match, he would be on his way home.
31.
Very swiftly, he reaches the point where the frame should be his.
38.
A formality of a frame ball coming up.
39. 46. 47. 48. 55.
'Just enough on to make a century. It would be the first of the tournament. The first, in fact, of the season.
61. Nine.
Oh, it's amazing what a practice situation can do for you, isn't it? Higgins gifted him the opportunity. Williams steps in and takes the frame. You know, it's amazing, Phil, when you see the players playing like this, why they make it so hard for themselves sometimes. Williams making it look so very, very easy. And yet we see on many occasions when the negative thoughts kick in, they literally cannot put a ball.
Renowned Mark Williams as the best single ball potter in snooker. I wouldn't disagree with that. Not really well known for his break-making abilities, but quietly he has made 178 centuries in professional competition.
95.
This should be the 179th. Indeed it is. The Welshman makes the ideal start and leads John Higgins 1-0.
Second frame. John Higgins to break.
Well, that was a very loose safety shot from Williams. In the previous frame, Higgins gifted Williams a simple opportunity at the very start, which Williams gladly took. And now it's Higgins' turn.
One.
The careers of these two have followed similar paths. Both 29 years of age, they both turned professional in the summer of 1992. The class of 92 also included the likes of Stephen Lee and most prominently Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Seven.
And since then their achievements have been pretty similar. Both have won 15 world ranking tournaments. Both have been world champion, UK champion, Masters champion,
14.
and both have been world number one. Higgins broke through slightly quicker. He won his first world ranking title in 1994. It took Williams another couple of years.
$15.
Just looking
20.
ahead a couple of shots. He'll be keen to remove the red away from the black as quickly as possible. They're coming back up for the blue here. Interesting to see how attacking he's feeling, whether he's going to... Well, he hasn't. I thought he may have given himself an angle to go into the pack there. He's got that one red on the left-hand side of the table. Unless the red adjacent to the black does go to that left corner pocket. If that's the case, that's the red he'll be playing for. We'll soon find out. Well, the way he's dressing the cue ball, it clearly doesn't.
26.
It makes the break building so much harder when you've got to keep on going back up for the blue. How many times do you see it, Phil, when the players inevitably run out of pace, leave themselves no angle on the blue, forced to play safe?
Yes, everyone, of course, recognises a 1-4-7 as the ultimate break building achievement. 15 reds, 15 blacks, all the colours. But if we take that to its logical conclusion, you have to say a tougher break would be 15 reds, 15 blues than the colours. And an even tougher break than that would be 15 reds and 15 ball colours, because the manoeuvrability of the cue ball there would be something special.
Well, he's going to have to manoeuvre the cue ball here through the reds. Well, he didn't really attack it, he just played the cannon. He was just about okay. Certainly not ideal. It's hard to tell which of the two reds is available. If it's the one he's got to cut back, it's certainly more difficult than he intended. Well, that makes it easier. There's a gap through the reds. But a long way out.
33. John Higgins.
Always tough to judge the potting angle when the cue ball and the object ball are so close together. Now that's what you call a split.
And that's what you call luck as well. He waved his hand to John Higgins to apologise. Mind you, he won't play safe here. He'll still take the points. But look at the way he landed on the pink.
7.
Yes, it's a convention of snooker, that, isn't it, where a player acknowledges to his opponent that he's been fortunate.
10.
Inside, though, I feel like rubbing their hands together. Always remember a lower ranked professional by the name of Robbie Grace, who was a real character. had a look that made him not dissimilar, actually, to the butler in the Rocky Horror Show. And whenever he used to have a fluke, he used to laugh in his opponent's face. When he was playing in the qualifying rounds, he had more of his fellow professionals watching him than any other person. He was great fun, good character.
22.
Inevitably, of course, they used to call him Amazing Grace.
29.
Amazing, really. Once again, is a break where Williams hasn't had to think at all.
32.
Higgins would be annoyed with himself. He had the first chance.
33.
Now Williams right back in this frame, but this is where the hard work begins. Slightly underhit this red.
39.
If he does take the red to centre, he can knock the other one off the side cushion. This is a very big shot.
Needs more pace.
45.
Snookered himself on the intended red. Just when 2-0 was looking the most likely scenario.
Mark J. Williams, 45.
A 102 break in the first frame, 45 in the second. But this one far from in the books.
Williams has to be careful. This shot could easily go wrong. Well, he judged it well, and this time Higgins is the one doing the thinking. And a touch of left-hand side on the cue ball here. He's always had a wonderful safety brain, John Higgins.
Yes, and the same can be said for Mark Williams. Deadly in these scrappy matches where it all comes down to the last few colours. A, because he's so good in the safety department. B, because he's so good at those long-range pots. But that's an unconventional way to force an opening.
always know that the red's going to go near the pocket, and there's always a slight chance it may drop. And your main concern is getting that cue ball safe. That hurt Williams. He's not impressed with that. We saw Higgins raise his arm to apologise, and that could help win him this frame.
That could not have dropped better.
Seven. Eight. 11.
Can't imagine he'll mess up from here. Already 3 points to the good. That means yellow to blue will do the job.
Seventeen. Twenty. 24.
Williams will be sitting there feeling rather aggrieved. He's taken his chance well, Higgins, but it's been derived from a fluke.
29.
1 frame each, very much on the cards.
29. 12.
We're now into the third frame. Williams at the table.
See, Willie's under the misguided impression that during his career he had more flukes against him than he had against other people. Maybe that's the case, but I'm afraid that's life.
20. 21.
How do you determine what's a fluke anyway?
You just deny it, wouldn't you?
Clearly certain flukes are patently obvious. The one Williams just had there, but in the previous frame when Higgins cross-doubled the red, he could quite legitimately say it was in the back of his mind he wanted to pop the red to the green pocket.
24.
If you leave the decision with the referee, he's on a hiding to nothing. It's just an unworkable rule.
Thirty-one. 32.
Willie Thorne's a smashing fellow. I really enjoy commentating with him. He's a good friend of mine. We've had a lot of laughs in the past. But I think he'd be the first to agree that, you know that analogy, are you seeing the cup half full or half empty? Well, I think with Willie Thorne, he's
38.
seeing the cup 3/4 empty. Does have a negative bent on things at times. Although it has to be said, the game has
Matthew
quite often
Williams.
kicked him
38.
where it hurts. He has been very unfortunate at certain points in his career. He's convinced that Stephen Hendry and Steve Davis have had more luck than anyone else. And I don't think he's a great believer in that Gary Player saying, the more I practice, the luckier I get.
Well, that's worked out well for Williams. Higgins could easily leave a red up here. Just cutting it across. I think he's just about okay. He's covered the one into the left corner. Shot to nothing here for Williams on the one in the centre of the table. That's a let-off.
One. It.
Once the
John
red had gone
Higgins,
past the green,
yes.
I think Higgins must have thought it was in. Not quite. Second prize though, he's covered the red with the green. Did not want the red in the middle of the table.
One.
And that's worked out inch perfect. Nicely on the ball colours, the blue. Much more accessible.
This is always a testing sort of shot, the red along the rail, especially when you have to work the cue ball to get
Five.
position on a colour. Deciding just to drop it in very low pace. Gives yourself more chance of knocking the object ball in the pocket. Just 3 points down on Higgins. Well, that is a very brave shot to play.
Archer
I've
Williams.
got a question
Six.
that shot into the corner pocket there, Phil, at this stage at that pace as well.
Well, you're not just trusting your cue action under pressure, you're also trusting the bed of the table.
Two.
Good pot, but could have had a better kiss than that.
5.
Wonderful pot there. But is he too straight on the brown? He was, so safety was the only course of action.
Maxwell Williams, 5.
Williams, 2 points to the good. That means he needs brown, blue and pink. The same thing applies for Higgins.
Higgins surely just up and down with this shot. The only trouble, he knew full well that if Williams could see the brown, there's every chance he could lay a snooker on him. The only hope he's got is the brown is tight to the cushion. If not, Williams can try and get the cue ball in behind the colour, send the brown back up the table. Or he's misjudged that one. Willing the brown past the pocket.
Foul and a miss. John Higgins, ball.
Now will Higgins have the cue ball put back mark?
Tough one this. The chances are that if he puts it back, Williams will hit it, and he's got half a chance of a pot here. It looks like he's going to go for it. It really is a gamble, that kind of decision. Edgy stuff.
And that is a total misjudgment. Terrible shot.
Ball.
He's handed the third frame on a platter to Williams, although this blue is no gimme.
Well, you called it, Phil, but I thought he was going to do better than that.
Williams, ball.
But hasn't he ever been fortunate? Plays a bad shot on the blue. Ends up snookering Higgins. Now, this kind of shot could so easily cost Higgins the frame. Just looking for luck now.
Williams didn't fancy the pot. You can hardly blame him. Just trying to keep maximum distance between the blue and the cue ball.
Five.
One down, one to go. And that's why we talk about Williams' potting skills. Super blue, great pink. He leads 2-1.
Final frame. Maxwell Williams to break.
The 8th match of this World Champions versus Asian Stars Challenge. and for me, the best so far. Williams off to a fly with a century. Higgins comes back with a clearance to blue launched by a fluke. Williams steals the third on the pink. Back comes Higgins with a break of 59 for 2 each.
What damage has Higgins done here?
One.
Well, he's gifted Williams the opening red. There's always been such an intense rivalry between these two players.
F.
In the earlier
Nine.
days, it was very much Williams the potter up against Higgins the tactician. They've tended to even out over the years, really. So they both play a very similar game nowadays.
16.
Williams has very much dropped his pace. He used to literally run around the
17.
table, going for everything. Higgins is probably slightly more attacking than he was in the past.
Yes, they've sort of converged in middle
24.
ground in terms of their approach.
The one thing that hasn't changed feels their steely determination. Winning the only thing that matters. Well,
25.
Williams disgusted with that shot. It hasn't worked out that bad actually. He's got the green to centre pocket. I think at one stage he thought the cue ball was just going to land tight on the vault cushion and be left with nothing. But by dropping the green to centre, the natural angle for the cue ball to come back down towards the reds.
F. 29.
He's left a thin cut on the black, which is especially awkward for a left-hander. Looking to see whether the pink will possibly squeeze into the middle pocket. It doesn't. So this is an examination, particularly employing the rest.
$29. Master Williams.
Well, it's not an exaggeration to say that was a match-winning chance gone.
One. F. John Higgins. F.
Huge.
Wow. And a bit. John Higgins. 4.
Well, Williams won't be too concerned about giving away the 4 points at the moment. He wants to try and get the cue ball tight to the red here. Just confirming with Higgins that that is the right place.
Wow.
Once
And
again, that will go back.
John Higgins. 4. foul and a miss. John
We'll
Higgins,
start getting
ball.
interested in a couple of minutes' time, Phil. If he's still at the table trying to play this shot.
More pace this time. But not before 12 penalty points have been conceded. And now Higgins only 9 adrift.
One.
Did well to cut that ball back. Can count himself unfortunate that the cue ball is dropped there.
I can't believe he's going to go for this back. Surely a safety shot here.
John Higgins, 1.
I think that was a nailed-on safety shot in the first frame of the match, let alone the decider.
Yeah, so Rice smiles, he walked back to his chair there. Higgins is so good in the safety department, as much that more often than not, the opposing player always has to think about the shot. He very rarely gives you a free, easy safety shot. You see, that's what I'm talking about. He's forced a mistake out of Mark Williams. Higgins easily can get his hand on the table. There may be a chance for a pot here.
Higgins must have feared the worst when Williams was in the balls early on in the frame, but as is so often the case in these deciders, it's developed into something of a dogfight. Well, I don't know what was intended there. What I do know is it didn't work.
One.
Oh, 7 points down, but a wonderful opportunity here for Higgins. Small cluster of 3 reds just to the left of the pink spot. It would be ideal if one of those reds went to the left corner. If not, he will need to make contact with them. But apart from that,
Yes.
it looks fairly straightforward.
Ten. Eleven.
Anywhere but there. Awkward queuing left. Now has to bridge over the 3 reds. Hitting down on the cue ball means he can't really control it. Positional choices severely limited.
Yeah, some people may say that was a bad shot the previous shot, but I think he was slightly unlucky. If he glances off the 3 reds half ball, he's guaranteed to be on that red, but to make 4 ball contact when you're screwing back into them, so difficult to judge.
1.
He's had a terrible kick and just managed to get away with it. I'm surprised, Phil. I've seen a number of kicks in this tournament and not one player asked for the cue ball to be cleaned.
Yes, they're the kind of kicks that take the pace out of the cue ball but don't particularly affect the potting angle. Occasionally you see a ball thrown off at a really unusual angle. Here that hasn't been the case. The dull contacts have caused the cue ball to slow, but the pot itself hasn't been affected. No kick there, just a miss. Again, on the verge of wrapping it up. So in first, he missed a black off its spot, albeit a difficult one with the rest. And the rest could prove costly there as well. Tried to force the cue ball around the angles, just made a glancing contact with the brown. So there's life in this frame yet.
William, 7.
And can Higgins pounce to apply that last punch?
Well, Williams amazed with the shot he's just played. I think feeling slightly aggrieved. He landed in such a position he was faced with a very difficult escape. You can see the only chance really for Williams, the brown and the blue. Higgins does clear up blue to pink. It's going to be very, very difficult. And already he's thinking about that situation. You usually think 2 or 3 shots ahead, but he's probably looked 4 or 5 shots ahead.
1.
Well, that's an interesting choice to shot. I'm slightly surprised he's played that. Unless he can bring the blue into play and get position on the yellow. He hasn't really helped himself that much.
Five.
That's well cued.
Well, we know he can get position on the blue, that's straightforward, but that's not the important part of the shot. He's leaving himself an angle on the blue to get from blue to pink.
14.
Brilliant.
Well, you have to feel a little sorry for Mark Williams. He made breaks of 71 and 43 to lead Ding Junhui 2-0 in his first group match. Was beaten 3-2.
19.
Here, he's played some fluent snooker, opened with a century break. Is he going to be denied at the last again?
25.
This is it. Higgins 2 out of 2. Williams denied on the line once more.
With John Higgins' win over Mark Williams, the Scotsman moves to the top of Group A. Another win will see him safely through to the semi-finals. He's up against Ding Junhui, who's at the table. And we join the action in frame 2. Commentary from Mark Johnston-Allen and Phil Yates.
We're getting down to the nitty-gritty here.
F. 9.
Ding badly in need of a victory. A 3-2 defeat would be sufficient to see Higgins through to the semi-finals.
16.
And in that regard, already halfway there.
17.
But as you can see from the position of the reds and the colours in frame 2, Ding has to be regarded as a heavy favourite to draw level.
He is amazingly quick, Phil. You just got to watch the referee.
25.
Especially when he pots the colour. You don't notice it when the red goes down because the referee doesn't have to do anything. But when the colour goes down, and Ding is on the red before the colour's back on the spot.
Yes, when he's break building, he's a very instinctive player.
31. 32.
I suppose the new crop of young players that are coming up through are obviously inspired by Ronnie O'Sullivan.
37.
Eras ago it was Steve Davis and then Stephen Hendry, and I suppose if you want to be a star nowadays you've got to be quick.
38.
Great pot.
Well, it says down there the break is 6, of course it's 38. Make that 45.
45. 45. Ding Junhui. Ding Junhui had a
And just like that, Ding Junhui pack on level terms.
third frame. Ding Junhui check.
John Higgins, like everyone else, has heard about Ding on the snooker grapevine. Wouldn't have seen all that much of him, but I'm sure what he has seen, he's been impressed by.
Well, a very attacking effort, didn't work out.
One.
And once again, Ding finds himself straight back at the table. It's a perfect situation really. You win a frame, you sit back down, wipe your cue, take a sip of water. 30 seconds later, the start of a new frame, you find yourself straight back into the swing of things.
5.
That really is how your confidence builds.
Everyone assumed he would take the game by storm last season. That didn't really work out in the early world ranking events. He lost his opening match in the British Open, in the Welsh Open and the European. he started to do himself justice towards the tail end of the season.
11.
Got through to the last 32 of the Players' Championship, beating en route the likes of Billy Snadden, the former China Open runner-up, Darren Morgan, former Irish Masters champion,
12.
and then Mark Selby, who in 2003 reached the final of the Scottish Open. And then in the qualifying rounds of the Embassy World Championship, the big one, he made 6 century
17.
breaks. And in the first qualifier for that tournament, beat the Thai Atthasit Mahitthi, who's already through to the semi-finals here. There though, the fluency comes to an abrupt halt. Too thick a contact on the second red. No option but to play safe.
Yeah, it was a careless shot.
Ding Junhui.
Yeah, just purely
Yeah,
lacking concentration there. Just needed to take a touch more care. He knew he was going to make thick contact on the pack of red, so just up the pace with the cue ball. And that kind of shot, you're better to overdo it than to underdo it. I suppose, Phil, when we talk about experience, he's only 17 years of age, isn't he? He's allowed to make 1 or 2 mistakes like that. Do you know, Phil, how closely the people back home in China are watching him?
Oh, he's a big star, there's no doubt about that. There's a huge challenge match arranged for later on, in the late summer in fact. Paul Hunter and Peter Ebdon will fight it out to see who plays Ding live on TV in China. There's a new Chinese language website been set up, dedicated to the game of snooker, largely because of this young man's exploits. And how about that for a fluke? Yes, lots of sports are booming in China. Certainly that's the case with golf. We've had our first European Tour event over there this year, the BMW Asian Open. And snooker's the same. The game boomed in Thailand in the late 80s and early 90s because of James Wattana, and it's booming in China. Maybe not quite as such a direct result for Ding, but nevertheless he's doing well for himself and for the game in general.
Ding Junhui.
Didn't do too well on that shot though. Made a real hack of it.
What damage has he done in terms of gifting John Higgins a chance here? We can see a red's available into that right corner pocket. The problem being position on a colour. You see there, Higgins was forced with far more pace on the cue ball than he would have liked. That's the reason why he's missed the red. It can be such a cruel game. Ding makes a mistake. It should cost him. It doesn't. And he finds himself straight back at the table. And this is one of those classic practice situations. Okay, the black isn't on the spot, but he doesn't really need to worry about the black at all for the remainder of this break. Already 30 points up. Plenty of scoring opportunities here with the blue, with the pink and the green.
7.
You know, comparing Ding with Ronnie O'Sullivan at the same age, one thing that does stand out for me is that he doesn't appear at the moment to be as polished as O'Sullivan was at 17. I don't know about you, Phil, but at 17 I felt that Ronnie O'Sullivan was virtually the finished article.
14.
Couldn't agree with you more, in fact. Turned professional at the age of 16, O'Sullivan, won his first 38 matches in world ranking events, That remains a record. He took to the big stage like a duck to water.
20.
Yeah, you had to fight through the qualifying score, didn't you, at Blackpool, and he absolutely breezed through it.
Well, back then there were so many more professionals because the game was open to anyone. He was required to play in 76 qualifying matches, and he won 74 of them. That was over a 3-month period.
24.
During that first season, O'Sullivan made 30 century breaks, which remains a rookie record by a mile.
Yes, I was unlucky enough to be on the receiving end of one of those victories at Blackpool and qualifying for the World Championships that year. And we were locked at 3-3, and I thought to myself, I was playing quite well, locked in a couple of centuries, and I thought, I've got this youngster covered. We came back after the interval, and I did not see a ball. Absolutely annihilated me.
I
suppose the big question is, Phil, would Ding have done the same thing or do the same thing?
Well, I'm not going to make any predictions as to whether he will or he won't, but what I will say is that I hope he does. Because it would be a real shot in the arm for the game.
44.
68 in front, 51 on.
44.
Ding leads by 2 frames to 1.
First frame. John Higgins frame.
Now, if John Higgins were to lose this frame, i.e. if Ding Junhui were to win it, the 17-year-old Chinese would accompany Mahitthi into the knockout phase. Then 2 more spots would be up for grabs.
As ever, Ding looking to attack, playing the shot to nothing, red to right corner, but making sure the cue ball finished safe. He's doing a very good job of the second part of that shot. Higgins snookered.
Remember, Ding rallied from 2-0 down to beat Mark Williams in his opening match, claiming the twin scalps of Williams and then Higgins would be a notable achievement.
He's just making sure the right-hand side of the table is covered as we see it. Quite clearly nothing available on the other side of the table. Great pace there from Higgins.
stake for Higgins in this frame. If he were to win it, get it 2 each, he would be through regardless of the outcome of the decider.
One.
Well, when you pot a ball like that, you deserve a good kiss. And that's precisely what he's got.
Five.
Ideally, he would have liked the black to have been on his own spot. You see with the pink colour commission at the moment, position on a colour isn't that easy. But he's cued that well. That was a far more difficult shot than it looked, especially with the rest. You see the red directly above the black. Ideally, he'd like to finish on that red. As whether he's got the angle.
Eleven. Wow.
I think it's fair to say he's got some rough edges still. But when you watch him play, there's no doubting his class. And I think when the WPBSA, the game's governing body, gave him a wildcard entry to play
19.
on the main world-ranking event circuit last season, it was a far-sighted move.
When
Absolutely. Sure, he played a couple of minutes ago to finish on the red above the black. Lovely touch. He's got all the shots in the book.
27.
Higgins not studying the table.
28.
And if Higgins were to lose this frame, he would have to rely on the Wattana-Williams match going his way.
$35. 36.
Yeah, he's just underhit this one, hasn't he? It should have been far easier.
Ding Junhui.
Well, a slightly premature end there.
But how many times have we seen that in this tournament where players leave themselves a thin-cut black off its spot and undercut the ball? Ultimately, if you think about it, that was the shot that cost Mark Williams in the deciding frame against Higgins last night. Williams in first, a great opportunity. Had the black fallen, it would have been pretty much all over.
And we could see a situation, all the reds just moving over to that right-hand corner pocket. Not really something both players want to get involved with. Shots nothing here for Higgins. Red across the table could drop. That's a bad shot. For someone like Higgins to make that kind of shot is very surprising.
I just wonder whether he came into this match with the incorrect attitude, looking for 2 frames as opposed to trying to win the thing outright.
1. F. 9.
Although it might sound a little complex, it isn't. If Ding wins this frame, and that now looks increasingly likely, it will mean that he will be accompanied into the semi-finals by James Wattana if the tie beats Mark Williams 3-0.
16.
Wattana would then edge out John Higgins by a single frame.
17.
A 3-1 win for Wattana would be okay for Higgins. He would just about scrape through. And in sport, there's nothing worse than not being the master of your own destiny.
Absolutely right. You play for one reason only, don't you? And that is to win.
22.
Sport is so black and white, there's no grey area. Wow. That was a massive let-off.
Ding
The
Junhui.
frame and match
22.
at his mercy. He just upped the tempo a touch.
And look where the cue ball's finished.
Yeah, he was so fortunate, A, that he didn't get position on the black because he would have guaranteed left Higgins a red on, and B, that he was actually playing for a colour. If he was going from colour to red, once again Higgins would be in amongst the reds at the moment, so a big slice of luck there for Ding. Higgins 58 down. There's still 75 on the table, but you need that opening chance. You can see that Higgins is very concerned about the safety, about taking the cue ball to the bulk end of the table. If he doesn't cover a red, and Ding knocks in one good long pot, that could be frame and match.
Large Chinese community here in Bangkok, and you would assume some of their number would be here cheering on their prodigal son. Good try. It was risky, but the reward was plain for all to see.
Yeah, I thought he played a fairly good percentage shot here, but the only one thing he wanted to do is get the cube on the side cushion. It isn't. It's a chance for Ding.
Well, that's twice under pressure he's twitched, and if you start to twitch when you're 17, what are you going to be like when you're 30?
I should know, that's why I gave up. You're right, Phil, it gets progressively worse. All these battle scars over the years, they weigh down on you. That is a golden rule, do not twitch. Because the other thing, obviously you're going to miss the pot, but your opponent picks up on it.
Yes, everyone feels pressure. There's no getting away from that fact. But when you're 17, you should be more immune to it than later on in your career.
Well, even though Higgins still trails by 53 points, or 52 now, in many ways he is the favourite to win this frame. He's got one problem ball, and that's the red on the vault cushion.
13.
And let's not
14.
forget, Mark, that in his previous match, Ding led James Wattana 2-0 and crumbled to a 3-2 defeat.
$20.
Extraordinary.
Sean Higgins, 20.
Higgins walking away. Can't quite believe it. It wasn't an absolute formality, but a player of his calibre, you'd expect to knock that kind of pot in all night. More weakness from Ding, though.
One.
He did not play that. He's going to play the snooker in behind the brown, and you can hardly blame him.
Wow.
Or at least he's going to
Three
try
balls.
to play the snooker in behind the
Ding
brown.
Junhui, 1. John Higgins, 4.
Unforgivable.
It is unforgivable. It's like finishing short on a putt at golf. You have to make contact. And he's given Higgins every chance he can to help him back into this match.
1. Six.
A flick on the red there would have been useful. Higgins, though, a really wise old head now. Been around for years. He knows that his opponent is feeling the pressure.
John Higgins, 6.
Higgins just looking for a way past the blue to take the red to right corner. Looks extremely close. He's glassed at the pockets, I'm presuming it does go.
1.
Great shot.
Is the double available? It's tight.
John Higgins 6.
Well, the way
Ding
the
Junhui,
Ding
4.
had been missing balls, you got the feeling this was the only way he was going to cross the line with what is an unmissable red.
One.
He missed 4 pots of varying difficulty that would have got him over the line.
4.
And now he'll be feeling very relieved, although not quite
Ding Junhui, 4.
in clover just yet. 31 in front, 27 on the table, only 1 snooker needed by Higgins.
Not bad, is it? Obviously not intended. Nothing's going to change once again. Good escape from Ding.
When the colours are on their spots like this, though, they do provide a natural wall. That's the case with black, pink and blue. Check side, imparted. Super.
There's a double bonus there, Phil. Because the yellow's so close to the black. 2 things could happen if he does miss it. A, he could hit the black. Higgins gets 7 points. And also, if he does miss it completely, the cue ball goes back up the table. Higgins could have a free ball. So Ding has to be very careful with this shot.
Wow.
It's not over yet.
3 ball. John Higgins 4.
Now Higgins has to decide whether he can put Ding back. That's going to play the other shot. Use any other colour as a free ball. That will act as a yellow. And the frame carries on as normal from there. He called the brown. And he's played a terrible shot. I cannot believe what he's just played.
So Ding leads by 27 points, tantalisingly. 27 points on the table. We could see the first respotted black of the tournament. Whatever the outcome, and Ding's had another huge slice of luck there. You've got to say, Mark, he's made really heavy weather of this frame.
Well, the mattress is a long time ago, but for some reason he didn't want to take it. And at the end of it, Higgins has done everything he possibly can to give it to him. surely now. He'll close this one out, but he's certainly got some work to do if he's thinking about winning this event.
5.
Yes, he didn't cross the line in style, but he did cross the line with a 3-1 win, and Ding Junhui through to the semi-finals.
So Wattana still to play Williams in the final match in Group A at this World Champions v Asian Stars tournament.